Hi everybody, it's Julie, and in today's Hello Monday video, I'm so excited because I get to share a sneak preview of our Holiday 2 release at Ellen Hutson LLC. I'm going to be sharing a stamp set called Holly Jolly and some dies called Poinsettia and Pine. And to start with on my project, I'm going to take two unused clean dryer sheets, fold them in half, and stack them together to get four thicknesses. And then I'll stack my watercolor paper on top and position my dies over that. And I'm going to run those through my Big Shot multiple times. And the great thing about using these dryer sheets is they act as a temporary adhesive and enable me to eject the dies without having to use a pokey tool or the pokey holes. And I can run that through again and again and again until I have the whole piece of watercolor paper filled with these die cut shapes. And then I'll set those aside for a second while I get out my Kuretake Gansai Tambi watercolors. I've got my color chart all filled out, finally got around to doing that. I'm going to set it off camera there so I can refer to it as I'm choosing my colors. And a super cool trick I'd seen my friend May Park do is to put a piece of white cardstock inside an Avery L stamp storage sleeve and use that as a temporary palette for mixing colors. I thought it was so brilliant. I wanted to share that, and I love the whole idea. And it's a great way to show you on camera what I'm doing, so you can see the colors a little bit better. And I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of a more intense red there to my berries, and then move on and let that dry for a little bit, move on to the holly leaves. And I first brushed some water over the top of the leaves, and then I picked up a really bright green. I'm just going to go ahead and tap the loaded paintbrush to the water that's already been spread there and just let it kind of wick that color around. And you know that my watercolor method is not very, well, I don't have a particular technique. I just kind of call it the slop it and push it around technique. And then to add some variegation of color, I loaded up some darker green onto the brush and then tapped that down while everything was still wet so it could kind of react with the color that's already there in the water. My paintbrush is pretty wet, so it's allowing that color to kind of spread and work together there. I'll set that aside to dry and continue working on the rest of the card. Now I'm going to be working with the Holly Jolly stamp set and doing some stamp surgery. I know that some of you kind of, freak out, so don't mess your dress. This is, an easy way to make your clear stamps more versatile when you cut them apart like this. What I wanted to do was nestle these little sprig images in tight to this sentiment. So I just trimmed off some of that excess photopolymer, and I do need to be a little bit careful when I dismount the stamp because I've cut into that so far. It's possible I could tear it if I were aggressive and not careful. So, but I'm usually pretty careful with my stuff, so I'm not worried about it. And then I got it all mounted together to a Fisker stamp press, and then I'm going to ink up with some Versamark ink. This is my favorite ink for embossing, and go ahead and press that into place. At first, I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and then I decided to cut a circle shape. But before I get to that point, I'm going to walk my fingers across the stamp press there and make sure I've got a nice, even, and crisp impression all the way over the whole surface. And then I'm going to add Hero Arts Gold Embossing Powder. I love this embossing powder. It's a nice, happy gold. And then I'll use the heat tool. I'm going to preheat it because I want to avoid as much warping as possible. And I find that if you preheat the heat gun for about 30 seconds to a minute, that really helps reduce the amount of warping that happens to the paper. And it allows the embossing powder to melt a lot faster. So now we've got that done. I'm going to take the circle die. This is from the We Are Memory Keepers nesting circle dies. Got that in place with a little bit of washi tape to keep it from moving as it goes through the Big Shot. Now normally I'd probably use my magnetic platform, but my cutting pad's a little bit warped, and so then the magnetic stuff no worky as well with the dies. So that's why I use the washi tape. But if your cutting pad's nice and flat, then by all means use the magnetic platform. So now I'm going to paint some stripes really quickly with a Zig Clean Color real brush marker. I love these markers because they have a real brush tip instead of a felt tip. So it looks like I painted or watercolored those stripes on there. And I just used the My Favorite Things stripe stencil there to help me get my stripes evenly spaced and straight, because sometimes I lean to the left or I lean to the right. And now I'm going to take my die cut shapes. They're all nice and dry, and I'm going to peel off what I think I'll want to work with. And you can save these, you can set it aside, but it's great for mass production because you got all of them sitting there and there's no mess on your work table because it just hangs on to everything for you. And then you just peel them off when you need them. So I'm going to pre-plan a little bit where I want these things to go. And then once I'm sure of my layout, I'll go ahead and get adhesive on the backs of all these pieces. I've got some foam tape on the back of the circle piece, and I just peeled off the center liner paper because that way if I don't get it on there where I want it, I can lift it up. I have a little bit of fudge room in case, and I won't destroy the whole front of the card because I mistakenly put it down where I didn't want it, or I got it crooked. So then I can go in with my tweezers and grab the other little pieces, the liner papers there, and remove those. So now I'm going to take glue dots, got those on the back of these little die cut pieces, and I love working with these glue dots because they come on sheets and they're perforated, and so you can use them individually and then remove the liner papers when you're ready to mount everything. And I'm going to add one more leaf because I found balance-wise it looked a little odd with just what I had there. It just felt like it needed a little bit more filler there. So now this is making my eye happy. And I'm going to embellish with some sequins. These are the Pretty Pink Posh Sparkling Clear. I absolutely love these things. And I'm just swiping them through a little puddle of multi-medium in the matte finish that I squirted onto a Post-it note, and then I can just throw it away. And I use my tweezers to kind of grab the sequins and swipe them through and then glue them down. And I'm going to add a little bit of shimmer to the berries and make them shiny. And for this, I'm using the Tsukineko Pico Embellisher. This is the clear shimmer color. And I'm just going to squirt a little bit out, make sure I don't have any air bubbles there that are going to burp out on me. And it has a needle nose applicator, which makes it great for getting into really tight spots. And when it dries, it's going to be a nice, glossy, glassy finish. But this one has some shimmer in it, just gorgeous. So we'll let that dry in a level spot. And in the meantime, when I put the cap on, it's got a wire there that goes down into the needle nose. So that'll keep it from clogging. So that's one of my favorite things about that Pico Embellisher. And it comes in colors too, white and black, as well as many of the memento colors. So super cool. All the supplies are listed at the Classroom blog, and we've got still shots and details for you. We've got a big hop coming up tomorrow, and I hope you'll join us. Thanks for watching.